Hello, very welcome to this new webinar by Opti Digital. We will start now. Thank you very much for joining. We know your time is precious, so we'll go straight to the point. This is an introduction to a must-have technology for your yield. Hopefully, we are going to introduce also Opti Digital, then have an overview of all the price floors available, and then get to know a bit better the concept of dynamic flooring and whether it's worth it or not. We will keep some time at the end to answer any question that you may have. Feel free to post them on the chat so everybody can see them. But I am going to be focused on our agenda today, and we will look at the question and answers after the slides. So very briefly, I introduce myself. I am Magali Cantelrem, and I am the co-founder and CEO of Opti Digital. And I am here today hosting this webinar with Sébastien Mout, who is the co-founder and president of Opti Digital. So in one slide, Opti Digital is the ad tech. We develop innovative solutions for media publishers exclusively. And we started offering all-in-one integrated solution for mid-market publishers. And last spring 2021, we have started to develop a new module called Opti Yield, targeting tier 1 publishers and sales houses to automatically manage floor prices. And in early 2023, we will also release a pre-bid adapter called Opti Bidder. So today we help more than 200 media, mostly in Europe, to increase their revenue. And now we are going to go deeper into one of the features that we use to really leverage the revenue for publishers. So let's have an overview on price floors. A price floor is a minimum auction price applied by the publisher on their inventory. This is let's say the biggest definition. We may also have a price floor set in each SSP we work with. It has a goal. The goal is to prevent to sell your inventory under a given price per impression sold. So it may have three objectives mainly: to protect your supply. I mean, having a defensive strategy here, setting up a low price mainly to prevent yourself from low quality advertisers. Another objective is to protect your direct sales. Imagine that you are an automotive media publisher and you have a full sales team dedicated to really sell your inventory at the best price to automotive constructor and so on. You don't want these players, these brands, to be able to buy your inventory at a cheaper price in the open market. So you may set some price floors per advertiser. And another objective is more of a challenging strategy, is to challenge buyers to really get the real value for your inventory. So before starting, I am going to release a poll to know you better. So now it should be displaying on your screen. So what type of price floor do you currently apply today? Okay. We are missing about half of the participants. Still. I mean, there is no judgment here. There is no good answer or bad answer. Just let us know what you're doing today. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm ending the poll. Do you want to see the results? There you go. Okay, so we see that a majority of you are using a bit of both manual prices set up in a frequent basis, and some of you have been trying dynamic price floors. Some people say they use no price floor at all. So I'm not surprised by these results. Basically, we have seen that when we discuss with publishers, most of them, they answer that they are using a low price floor and they just rely on competition thanks to header bidding to really challenge buyers and to make the CPMs increase. But also we know that some solutions exist on the market and they have been pushed to you. So it's very interesting to get to know your feedback. And I suppose that if you are using some dynamic price floor solutions, they work for you. So it's very interesting. Now, I am going to continue to go a bit deeper in the price floors. When we set up manual price floors, basically we have two options, either to have a static price floor. So the idea is to set a minimum CPM, and it avoids low quality advertisers. It's also limiting the depreciation of your inventory, because if you do not set any price floor, if you are of the ones who answered no price floor at all, well, if you analyze your chart of prices, you may realize that most of the buyers are really buying at the cheapest price, between 0 and 0.10 euro. So the first inconvenient or disadvantage that we see about static price floors is that it's very time consuming, because you would need to adapt it per ad slot, per ad placement, per page, per URL, and you would need to change it very regularly. And also, if you happen to set a high price floor because seasonality is good and you have a lot of demand, well, you may also generate unfilled when there is a change and demand goes down. One thing that you should know is that on the buy side, the buyers use very powerful technology that are offered by DSPs, and they are called bid shading. And basically, these technologies, they tend to find the cheapest and the most efficient path to buy your inventory. So these bid shading technology have an objective, which is to actually make the price as low as possible for the buyer. And if you set up a static price floor, thanks to this strategy, they manage to find what is the static price floor set, and they are going to try to buy at the cheapest price at this floor. So it's useless. Another type of manual floor is a bit more flexible. In Google Ad Manager, you see it as target CPM. The objective of this flexible floor is to give some flexibility to Google only, to let Google offer your inventory a bit below the target CPM that you have set up when Google finds that there is an opportunity to sell it. If and only if at another moment during the day, during the week, Google will be able to sell it at a higher price in order to compensate and to make sure that you have, that we ensure the target CPM. So it's optimizing the fill rate theoretically. Again, it doesn't mean that it's flexible and it's reacting and adaptive according to the demand. It has to be changed manually and regularly. Every time that you see demand is changing, and you have to set it up specifically for each ad placement. So it's very time consuming. Another disadvantage of the target CPM that publishers are giving us as a feedback is that it's a black box. The floors are only visible to Google Ad Exchange and to Open Bidding. So it's making the auctions a bit more unfair. And again, it's useless against bid shading. So let's see if there is an alternative. What is the dynamic price floor? A dynamic price floor solution will automatically calculate and optimize flows to maximize your yield. I mean, by maximizing your yield, to maximize the revenue that you generate for a given amount of ad opportunities. Basically, the ad request is CPM. It calculates hundreds of price floors. It's not just like, okay, I'm going to calculate one floor per month. No, it has to be impression per impression. Several inputs are taken into account by the algorithm, maybe related to demand, seasonality. Let's say, for example, weekdays versus weekends, inventory. Am I above the fold ad placement or below? And user value. Users do not have all the same value. Three main benefits. The very first thing that I can see is that it's time and resource saving. Instead of having resources dedicated to that, I mean, you may be in this situation that you are working in a very big publisher media group and you have a full team of data scientists who are able to crunch into huge data sets to really make sure that you have a dynamic flow. Amazing. But usually, even if you have a lot of resources, you may just do it manually. And it's really time consuming and it's really complex rules. So having a dynamic solution like this is going to save you a lot of time and resources. The second benefit is that it's maximizing your yield. We have been testing the waters since spring 2021 with more than 100 sites. And we see that it has an impact, a positive impact, even when we are in a first price auction model. So it's very interesting because it's going to challenge buyers and to find the real value for your inventory. And the last thing, which is within the definition itself, is that it's automatically adapting to the demand. The more demand, the more the solution will calculate price at a higher level. On the contrary, if we are on the 1st of October and suddenly, because we start a new quarter, the demand is decreasing, it's going to adapt the flow to a lower price to make sure that you do not miss on an important ad opportunity, that we don't create unfilled. So now let's make a little introduction to our technology, because we can talk only about what we really know. Our technology, Opti Yield, has been developed by a team of data scientists, by statistics PhDs, by product managers, by programmers. We have been testing it for over 140 websites, and it calculates automatically hundreds of floors in real time, thanks to artificial intelligence. So it's a smart solution. The second thing is that it's using machine learning to improve. The more data you can give to the tool, the more relevant are going to be the prices and also the more granular. So we are going to be able to forecast revenue and the value for each impression in a predictive way. One thing which is important philosophically, but also in terms of results, is that it's an agnostic solution. In the end, what we do is that after calculating the prices, we inject them and we send them through the bid request to each and every player involved in the auctions. Google, of course, but also Amazon and Prebid. This way, we make sure that all the buyers have the same information. They have the information in the bid request and they can bid accordingly. And finally, this is a steady solution. We don't have one day generates an uplift of plus 30% and the next day a downlift of minus 20%. No, it actually provides stable results. Day after day, we see that we are generating an uplift, which is between 10% to 30%, depending on the websites and depending on the placements. So how does it work? The solution is implemented through an SDK on your site and calculates everything in the website, in the terminal. Once our engine has calculated what's the best price floor to set up, in this example, €1.50, it sends this price to both the header bidding partners and to the ad server. In this example, our ad server is Google Ad Manager, but it may work in another environment too. Once we get the price floor, we send it to Amazon and to Prebid, and all the players have access to this information. Some players may still disregard this price floor and bid below it, which is a shame because they are going to be disqualified from the beginning. Most of the buyers, most of the SSPs are listening to this information in the bid request, will pass it on to the DSPs, and the DSPs are going to bid accordingly. So in this example, the best auction comes from this one at €1.72. This winning bid coming from Prebid or Amazon is brought into the ad server and is going to compete against Google Ad Exchange. And in this example, but it may happen differently in another auction, we imagine that Google Ad Exchange could outbid this winning bid from Prebid and pay €1.90. So we see that there is here a double effect because we challenge the header bidding partners. And so there is a moment of lever, and then we challenge at a higher price Google AdX on the second auction. So this second effect is very interesting and is bringing great results. So some pros and cons of the different floor strategies. I'm not going to enter into the details because there is a lot of information in that table, but I would like you to remember one thing. There are basically two strategies in terms of floors, a defensive strategy and a challenging one. The defensive strategy is the one that you may have set up with manual floors at a low level. You consider that header bidding is going to increase prices thanks to competition. This is defensive. Your price is low and it's just going to defend your value from these retargeters who are trying to find the lowest value as possible. So we are going to find the lowest CPMs, and it's also going to prevent you from having bad brands on your website. But a challenging strategy is impossible to do with manual floors because we would never dare to apply the floors that are going to be applied on a fragmented segment of audience when we have a lot of data which is telling the algorithm, okay, here you may maximize your CPM because this user has a browsing history and is very, very valuable. So having a challenging strategy, for instance, could mean that at one point, the solution is going to apply a floor which is 10, 15 times the floor that you would have imagined, or even more, and it's going to generate an uplift. So here is a little case study. This is a screen coming from our Opti Yield analytical platform. So we provide this analytical platform to all the publishers using Opti Yield, and it's displaying for you the results coming from Opti Yield. So it's a very transparent solution. In green, you can see what is the uplift brought by the solution every day compared to the revenue that it would have generated, that you would have generated without Opti Yield. In the pink row here, the pink line, you see the gross increase of revenue, the gross uplift percentage generated by Opti Yield. In this example, we see that it's about a 22% uplift, and you see how steady are the results, time after time, day after day. One thing, as you may notice, is not enabled on 100% of the inventory. It's for a good reason. we always keep a control group, which is used as a sample to make sure that there is an uplift. In this control group, you may use any price floor strategy that you want. You may challenge us with specific floors, specific target CPM, or even another optimized floor strategy. So up to 90% of your inventory will be optimized by Opti yield, but we will always keep at least 10% on which we won't apply any optimized floor. So just as a little summary, the main advantages of Opti yield are that it brings in average a plus 20% in advertising revenue without adding any ad on your screens, on your media. It's going to save you precious time and resources that you will be able to dedicate to more important topics internally. It will unlock better ads. Only the best brands will be able to pay a higher price. Also, it's going to adapt to multiple inputs in a very granular level. And that is manually not imaginable, not feasible. It's going to minimize the risk to miss on an ad opportunity. You are going to minimize the risk of generating a big unfilled if your price floor is set up at a too high level. And sometimes we just forget about it. And the price floor is set up in one SSP or in your ad server, and you're just missing a lot of ad opportunities. On the contrary, it's stimulating the market. You are going to get best bids. It's efficiently countering bid shading. Basically, we are going to use on the sell side the same technology than buy side is using with bid shading to fight price depreciation. And eventually, even if Opti yield is a complex solution under the hood, on your side as a publisher, it's very easy to enable it if, when, and where you wish. A glance at the results for today, we have about 142 media which are currently using it in more than 25 countries in Europe, in the United States, in Latin America, and the uplift is variable from 10 to plus 30% uplift, depending, of course, on the vertical, depending on the placement, depending on the website. I'm sure I forgot many things that we could say about price floors. It's just an introduction. So now we can spend some time to answer your questions. And Sébastien, you may unmute yourself.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Magali, for the presentation. So can we maybe review some of the questions?
You said, unless I'm wrong.
Yeah, can you hear me?
No. A little technical issue.
Well, normally, yes, it should work, Laurence. So maybe I can answer the question from Sébastien, asking how often are we updating and how often the machine learning is actually updating the price floor. Well, today we are actually refreshing and the price floor are pushed to the different system every hour. Everybody can hear me? Yeah, can hear you, man. Okay, thank you for the confirmation. What are the other questions we have? I think we have two hands. Is it applicable for each group? Yeah, well, this is applicable to each bid request. So actually, the price floor are made available from our SDK on the websites, and next every bid request that is coming from the websites can actually use and will benefit from the price floor in every bid request generated on the page. Okay, so just for Sebastian. Yes, I'm. So the regarding the frequency of the updates, we are updating the price floor every hour actually. So every hour we are able to adjust the price floor if it's required. The price floor might not change every hour, but this is the capacity of the system. So the machine learning is actually recalculating the price floor to push them every hour. How much uplift do you see versus dynamic pricing algorithm implemented by SSPs? Well, actually, this is not easy to evaluate simply because the price floor strategy that is implementing at the SSP level is mainly is a different strategy. It's a strategy that is trying to help the SSPs to win market share, and to it's only part of the global monetization of the website. Here, the solution and the dynamic price floor solution as a main objective to optimize the global yield of the publisher. So it's about all the ad requests that are generated by the publisher. While an algorithm that is implemented on the SSP side might be having a different objective. Their objective, generally, the SSP might only generate 10% or 15% of the market share of the global ad request turnover. So in this case, they will have a strategy to win some market share and to help their DSPs to win the auctions, but the logic is a bit different. Other questions? Have you seen? Regarding the latency, so I see a question about latency, possible latency that will the SDK generate. So there is actually the SDK is very light. The SDK can be loaded very early in the page to provide the price floor for before the auction actually opens. It's important to know that the price floor SDK is not having any dependency on GDPR. It's not consuming any personal data. So it doesn't have to wait for the CMP typically. So it can load very early on the page. It can be ready to provide price floors to the auctions without slowing down the page and without slowing down the time when the auction will happen. Do you have any clients in the Greater China area? No, we don't have any clients yet. Most of our clients today are in Europe. So we haven't tested the technology yet on Asian traffic or inventory. I have a question, also interesting question about how is the impact between video and display. As a general answer, I mean, higher the demand and higher are the CPMs, and higher is the value of the inventory, and more impact the price floor will have on this inventory. So as a general rule, we can see in all the statistics and all the impact we have been measuring in our publishers that the generally on video, the uplift is bigger simply because the demand level is generally higher, the CPM is higher. So even if in video, you always have a part of unsold that is higher, when you apply the dynamic flooring strategy, you manage to bring a bigger uplift than on display inventory. But we've also seen very high impact on the display inventory when the CPM and the value is very high. So that's answering the question between video and display. What is the commercial model? What is the commercial model revenue share on revenue uplift? Well, yes, exactly. So the commercial model we are implementing on this solution is a rev share on the uplift we are creating on your inventory. And a question from Lawrence. If a publisher is using a dynamic price solution of Google or your, at the same time, what would be the impact? So as Magali explained before, we can apply Opti yield we can select the inventory on which we apply Opti yield, and Opti yield that will actually always benchmark the performance of Opti yield versus the performance of what you have on your control group. So we'll show dynamically in our dashboard what is the uplift we bring compared to what you are currently running in your control group, which means what you are currently running before integrating Opti yield. And in this case, it could be the strategy you currently have. So if you are using Google Dynamic Price Law solution, then we will benchmark and the system at Opti will bring additional value to what Google Dynamic Price Law could have already bring to your inventory, and will show you the real uplift between what Opti yield generate as a value compared to what the Google Dynamic Price Law will have applied on the control group. How do you estimate floor price for SSP, which don't support header bidding? Don't send price in the bid last time. Well, actually, the solution is I'm not sure to understand the question. Yeah, how do you estimate floor price for SSP which don't support header bidding? Well, today, I mean, the solution we have is that the SDK can provide dynamic price floor to all the pre-bid SSP adapters. So every SSP or every demand partner that is connected to pre-bid and that is actually compatible with the floor module of pre-bid can receive dynamically the floor recommended by Opti yield on every single ad request. So all the SSPs that are actually connected in real-time bidding through pre-bid or through Amazon or through Google Google Ad Exchange or Google Open Bidding are actually dynamically receiving the price floor and can leverage it to reply with the bid response that will match with the price floor request. Is it answering your question, Jacob? Okay, perfect. Did I miss any question?
Yes, I think.
Sorry, I think there are some questions in the Q&A. Do we need to give you access to our Google Ad Manager to use dynamic price floors?
So regarding the access, obviously the dynamic price floor solution is consuming data. The machine learning model we've built is consuming data. So we need access to the data of your inventory in order to calculate the price floors and have the system recommend price floor dynamically. So here we are offering two options, or we can actually connect to your Google Ad Manager or to your ad server to fetch through an API dynamically the statistic that we need in order to implement the dynamic price floor solution. That said, if it's difficult and complicated regarding your policies to access Google Ad Manager, we could also work on the data set that you will export with the correct reporting dimensions to us through any data transfer model. And well, basically, as soon as we have access to the data directly through an API using Google Ad Manager or through a different way to exchange the data, we can implement the system. Have you seen any attention of this question over here? Will the bids from the partner be collected by Opti first before it's added? Will the bids from the partners be collected by Opti first before it's added to the ad request of GFP? Well, when you are talking about partners, are you talking about the header bidding from Amazon or pre-bid? Will the bids from the partner? Yeah, so in this case, I mean, we don't modify and we don't interact with the way you collect bids from your partners. Actually, your current implementation of header bidding, leveraging Amazon or pre-bid stays in place. What we do is that we provide an SDK that will actually make sure that this marketplace, pre-bid Amazon, will actually get the recommended floor by the system before running their first level auction, header bidding auction. And then the way you get the bid from these partners and the way you communicate them to Google Ad Manager stays exactly the same. So, but then the bid you will receive from them will actually be above the price floor that Opti would have recommended. And then the process to commit to transfer them and to entitle them as a key value to Google Ad Manager stays exactly the same. Is it answering your question? Okay. So for the integration workflow, we have the onboarding is actually going in two steps. We first we first have to do a pre-configuration of your ad server to make sure that we can pass dynamically the price floor to your ad server. We need to connect. The second step is to connect directly or through a data exchanger to the reports, so we can access the data and implement the machine learning. And the last step for you is to integrate our SDK into your website that will provide you dynamically at the different auction level the price floors. So we do have a documentation of these different steps, so we can definitively share with you the documentation explaining the different onboarding steps for the solution.
Seb, we still have one question, a bit more. So in the question and answers, there is somebody who asked, how do you calculate uplifts?
So the uplift is calculated based on the performance and the ad request CPM that we can measure on the control group that is actually running your normal configuration with your normal pricing and flowing implementation versus the ad request performance and the ad request CPM we get using Opti. And thanks to this calculation, we can actually estimate what is the uplift that we bring by the solution. And then we have a dashboard that helps you actually to see not only what is the difference in the ad request CPM with and without Opti, but we also estimate and calculate what is the absolute added value created by the solution financially. And regarding, I have a question here about how do we manage the control group. It's completely, we need to create an initial setup at the onboarding time, but then it's fully managed by the solution, the way we allocate traffic to control group or test group. So this is automated. How long do you need to have enough data to start? Well, the system actually will when we will onboard the solution, will fetch some historical data, and we could start with dynamic price floors. During the first day, the system will test and evaluate the impact of the solution that are and the floors that are applied, and it will progressively scale on the traffic. So, well, generally in the integration, the publishers that are running with us, we can see the first results after a few days, and it's consolidating over the time. And actually, longer you have the system in place, better and more stable are the results. What we recommend generally is that we see really stability and all the optimization is getting stable and performance really after a month. So we recommend really to have a month to see stability and to have a system that starts really being efficient and at full speed. So you are saying, Magali, there is another question in the QA? I'm not sure I've seen it. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think that's it for the questions. If you didn't have the time to ask, or if you have another question coming later, feel free to contact us. Here are my contact details. And Sebastian's email address is the same as mine, sebastian@optidigital.com. And yeah, we hope that you enjoyed this session. If you need the slides or the replay, we will communicate it, and feel free to share the knowledge and share the love. Have a good day.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
See you soon.